answered destiny's call. Packed my stuff and left for Skyrim, but ended up in hell again with my neck resting in a guillotine. The end of me, it would seem, but then again, who could ever foresee? I take an arrow to the knee. I took 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 an arrow to the knee. Long ago I was enrolled in the College of Winterhold, paying my own way with the gold I earned working in the Thieves Guild, but I never ended up with a degree. I had to drop out of school early. My life changed oh so suddenly when I took an arrow to the knee. 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 I chased spiders to spider holes. I fought giants and I fought frost trolls. I stood up to the Imperials. I killed the dragons with the Elder Scrolls. I used to be so wild and free, and now I wander aimlessly. Adventure was stolen from me when I took an arrow to the knee. 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 Long ago I was enrolled in the College of Winterhold, paying my own way with a...
I used to be an adventurer like you, and I took an arrow in the knee.
I took an arrow to the knee. I took an arrow to the knee. I took an arrow to the knee. I took an arrow to the knee. I used to live in Daggerfall until I answered destiny's call. Packed my stuff and left for Skyrim, but ended up in hell again with my neck resting in a guillotine. The end of me, it would seem, but then again, who could ever foresee? I take an arrow to the knee. I took 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 an arrow to the knee. Long ago I was enrolled in the College of Winterhold, paying my own way with the gold I earned working in the Thieves Guild, but I never ended up with a degree. I had to drop out of school early. My life changed oh so suddenly when I took an arrow to the knee. I took an arrow to the knee. I took an arrow to the knee. I took an
Hello everybody, welcome to another game from Livestream. Today we're going to be taking a look at something rather special and unique. It is a prototype version of Sonic the Hedgehog for Sega Mega Drive Genesis. This was discovered, completely brand new discovery, just a couple of days ago. So nobody's ever seen this before since it was in development at Sega in the early 90s really. I'm going to kick it off in a second, so apologies for the blank screen there. This is just the kind of thing that I find interesting. Old versions of games. I've done a few little looks at old beta prototype versions of things before. So it's just one of those things that I like to look at. Credit to this prototype version being released by a group on the internet called Hidden Palace. They are the guys who ripped it from the cartridge that they discovered and uploaded it to the internet. I think it was specifically found by someone called Buckaroo. Anyway, so what we're going to do is going to have a look at it. So this is basically an early version of Sonic 1, not the version that was released publicly. It's like an early prototype version. Hello Sharpblade, welcome. So we're just going to take a look at it now. Just going to make the chat a little bit bigger because my eyesight is terrible. And I'll point out the differences along the way. Some of it's playable, so some of it will work kind of as intended, but some of it will be completely broken and we'll have to use level selects and stuff just to be able to get into it. Hello to Ivor as well. James Heaney forever. Completely agree with that sentiment. Anyway, let's take a look at this prototype version. Hopefully it works. If there's any issues with audio or anything like that, just give me the heads up in the chat there. So the first thing that's like most obviously different about that is the fact that it doesn't have the Sega kind of thing at the beginning. So it's just like a plain old boring Sega logo. The other thing that's that's more subtle is it says press start button at the bottom. You don't see that in the final version, so that's another difference. And the other thing as well is these automatic demos are a little bit broken, so like you see how Sonic just dies straight away in the first. The level special stage will come on to in a little while, which is also kind of broken. Anyway, Sonic the Hedgehog. How much of the UK have I been to? And game is a bit louder than me. Fair enough. So, in terms of where I've been to in the UK, most places, is there somewhere in particular that you want me to mention? Let me just see if I can turn audio capture source down a little bit. Is that better? Hopefully it is. Hello John, welcome. I've been to most places in the UK, to be honest. So there's actually the only place I haven't been in the UK is Northern Ireland. Anyway, so this is the first. A couple of things to point out. Firstly, Green Hill Zone looks kind of more or less like it is in the final, except for the fact that these sunflowers are different in that they are pink instead of, I think, green in the final version. And then the most obvious thing is this wrecking ball gimmick that's going on here. Something that you do not see at all in the final version. Yes, I've been to Brighton. Yes. Anyway, so this wrecking ball gimmick is kind of got some interesting physics going on with it. It's clearly not finished, and you can kind of see why they cut it out of the final version of the game. It's very odd. I don't really know what purpose it. Well, it can kill you, so there's something I've just learned. But like, I don't know what it was for, what the purpose of it was. And for some reason, they just seem to be littered around Green Hill Zone for reasons that I don't fully understand. So there's an interesting thing. Other than that, the rest of Green Hill Zone is kind of similar to the final version. The level layouts are still not quite what I would say is final. There are some differences. Difficult to point out specific differences in the level layouts, but it's not like these spike traps, for example, are slightly different. Those monitors are the same. But yeah, there's still little differences, little changes to the level layout that will be made before the final version of the game. One thing this version of the game does have, which is an issue, is level wrapping. Which basically means if you scroll through the level too quickly, you can hit the sides and die. You can, I think, still do that in the final version, but it's a lot worse in this game. Also, you notice that enemy, I forget what it's called, the one with the little jet rocket coming out of the back of it, clearly had some palette issues and corrupted graphics. The main difference, obviously, is the sound. So, like, the sound is not completely different. It's the same songs, but like the drum samples are different. They're a bit louder and sound a little different, and some of the music sounds a little bit different. The Green Hill Zone is pretty far developed in this version, in this prototype, so Green Hill Zone isn't the most exciting level to show off in terms of differences, because quite a lot of it is the same, but as we get further on into the game, well, that was clever. As we get a little bit further on into the game, you'll see that there are some pretty big differences and cut content that we'll be able to take a look at, so that should be pretty interesting. And then once we've gone through what this prototype allows you to play generally, once we've gone and seen what this prototype gives you generally, sorry, I'm going to try and do the spike jump, which is always a tricky jump even in the final version. I'll give it a go. Yeah, I knew that happened. Anyway, yeah, so once we've gone back and seen what the game generally allows you to play, there's like the level selects and debug mode and stuff, so we'll check that out as well, just to show you some of the other content that you might not necessarily see straight away. Because basically there are some levels in this which are kind of locked off and not being shown off in the general stream of gameplay because of the fact that it's not finished yet. I think this version of the game was given to like either reviewers, or it might have been shown off at like CES or some kind of event. The story of how it's been found and how it's been who owned it and where it's come from hasn't been released yet. I think that's going to be something that's going to be revealed in the next issue of Retro Gamer, so I'll be sure to check that out. For whatever reason, I'm guessing Retro Gamer got some exclusive press rights to how this prototype was found, I don't know. But anyway. Yeah, I guess Green Hill Zone Act 2 is not very different. The only real differences that you can see at the moment are... Well, there's another one of these wrecking balls, so... They're interesting. The physics on them are just weird. I don't really understand what they were thinking with that. And you can definitely tell with some of the sounds as well, like some of the sounds are not right, like the signpost isn't right, stuff like that. I don't think there's any real differences in Act 3 either, but we'll soon find out. Oh, the spike bug is still there. So the spike bug is a pretty infamous bug in the original Sonic the Hedgehog, which means that if you land on some spikes and then fall onto the same set of spikes again, your invincibility doesn't count and you just basically get killed instantly, which is, well, basically like you saw there, which is always a fun glitch. Oh, amateur hour. Yeah, so Green Hill, not the most exciting level for this prototype, I'm afraid. But we'll move on to Marble Zone in a second, I imagine, where we should hopefully see another interesting... oh dear. Yeah, that was the spike bug. So so when you land on the spikes, you should get some invincibility for 5 seconds or so. But for whatever reason, damage from spikes doesn't trigger the invincibility, so you die instantly, basically. I'm glad you're enjoying it over. I always find prototype versions of Sonic games, and any game really, quite interesting, because it's always interesting to just see like how the development process worked, what was cut, what was changed. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has quite a few prototypes out there, and one particularly famous one which had loads of cut levels and interesting stuff. I've never covered it on Gamefront because it was quite a long time ago when that was discovered, but if people enjoy this video, then, you know, I might take a look at the Sonic 2 prototypes as well, if that's of interest to anybody. I'm always conscious when I do Sonic games on this channel, because I know this is a very this channel's built on like Dark Souls and Resident Evil and stuff like that, whereas this is a very I don't know, not the most obvious game for this channel, I suppose. But then again, I don't know, we do Minecraft and stuff, so it's all good, I think. Video games are video games. So yeah, apart from the difference in audio, there wasn't really a lot different, and the Wrecking Ball thing again, there wasn't a lot different in Green Hills on there. But we'll move on to Marble Zone now, and you should be able to see something pretty interesting. Oh, I forgot to show off the jumping thing. Yeah, so I'll show that off next time I can play a level. So, yeah, Marble Zone. If you look in the sky, there's these weird UFO things going on. Now, interesting fact for you: if anyone's ever seen the film Wayne's World, if you watch Wayne's World, in the background of I can't remember exactly what the deal is with Wayne's World, but I think it's like the TV studio where they're sort of filming their show or whatever. And they've got some video games on in the background, and one of them is this prototype of Sonic 1. Because Wayne's World was released before Sonic 1 was released, I think. So, for whatever reason, there's a prototype version of Sonic going on in the background of Wayne's World, and you can see this level with those UFOs just spinning around in the background. So, there's an interesting fact for you. Unfortunately, apart from the UFOs and some other level layout changes, there's not a lot, again, different about Marble Zone compared to the final version. There are a few little differences which I'll point out along the way. The problem is I hate Marble Zone. It's literally the one level I don't like in Sonic games. It's just very slow. It's 3 acts long. Like, there have been other levels in Sonic games which are not that fun. I don't know, like Mystic Cave Zone for me, or Sandopolis in Sonic 3 and stuff. But at least they were only 2 acts long. This is 3 long acts of just jumping over things and stuff like that. So this spike trap here is something that you don't see in the final version. It's an unused asset. It's still in the final game, and you can unlock it using debug mode, but it's not actually used anywhere. So there's some more cut content for you. Ugh, freaking Marble Zone! I actually hate Marble Zone. Yeah, Chemical Plant Zone in Sonic 2 was kind of annoying. I kind of agree with that, but at least it kept the pace up. I think the problem with Marble Zone is that it's just very slow paced. But actually, if you look at Sonic 1, Sonic 1's a bit different from all the other Sonic games in that it's kind of designed. I'm just going to show you this jumping business. So, whenever you complete an act, if you jump, you actually do this like victory pose. Something that isn't in the final game. That's been cut out, so that's a cool little thing. Yeah, Sonic 1's got this interesting way of presenting its levels, in that it'll do like a fast level and a slow level and sort of alternate between them. This monitor up here is a completely different thing, and I think that pillar's not in the final version. I don't remember anyway. Yeah, so that's different. Anyway, so yeah, so like, you know, you got Green Hill Zone, which is like a fast level, then Marble Zone's a slow level, and then you got Spring Yard, which is like a fast level, and then Labyrinth Zone, which is like a slow level. And then Starlight is a fast level, and then Scrap Brain Zone is a slow level. So it kind of alternates, whereas other Sonic games just kind of kept the speed up. So Sonic 1's a bit weird in that it kind of alternates between making you go quickly and sort of being more like a traditional platformer like Mario or whatever. Just to point out as well, this cylinder that you jump up on top of, again, that's completely different from the final version. That's cut from this prototype version. Hello, Pelagius. How are you today? Yeah, so that lava sound is different. Other than that, the level layout's not dramatically different, just a few little differences there. The next level will be more interesting in terms of differences, so stay tuned if you're finding this a bit boring. This spike trap is a bit awful, because this little roof bit's not there in the final version. I can see why they changed that. That was a bit grim. Makes me anxious, that bit. I'm doing well, Pelagius. Thank you for asking. Always good to do my weekly padding of content with my weekly live streams, just because we didn't manage to get something edited for today. So, although I kind of wanted to do this live stream anyway, because ever since I found out about this live stream. Ever since I found out about this prototype, I wanted to do a live stream on it. So, yeah. Get your words right. There's a bag of chips in it for you. Ooh. Sega Genesis was like pretty groundbreaking for the time, you know, with these like little animations that it did when you stood on the edges of floors and stuff like that. Like, you know, games didn't used to do this kind of thing because like memory was such a premium thing back then, you know, like 8 bits especially, like you only had like so many megabytes of space to work with. So, you know, you wouldn't put in unnecessary animations like that unless you had the cartridge space for it. So like the Sega Genesis was like these graphics, they're kind of primitive now, you know, like people look at this now and think, oh, that's kind of quaint, but like for 1991 or whatever it was, this was like, okay, I was going to say the cyberpunk of its day, but that's unfair to this. But you know, it was like the modern AAA of its time, you know. Really groundbreaking graphically. Yeah, I'm going to try and do them weekly. I've been doing them like once a week for the last few weeks, I think. I might have missed a week or two, but there is the ROM you can find online. Yes, so I should have put it in the description. I apologize, but if you want to find if you want to download this for yourself, it's on a website called Hidden Palace. So just Google Hidden Palace Sonic or something like that, and you should be able to find it. Or just put in Sonic 1 Prototype 2021 or something like that. Google is your friend, basically. But yeah, it's out there. But once I've finished the live stream, I'll stick the link in the description for anyone who wants to play it. Oh my daisy days, that was awful. That did not lift up very far before it dropped. Am I right at the beginning of the level as well? You know what? I've just realised something. There's no checkpoints, is there? There's no signposts. That's a difference. Yeah, that's a good point, Vincent. Yeah, the blocks were not awarding points, which they do in the final version. That's a very good spot. Well done. I am probably going to miss differences. Like I've not checked this out in advance. I mean, I saw a video of it briefly, but I didn't see it in any detail. So I'm kind of just trying to spot the differences for myself. So if I miss any differences, you know, point them out. I'm not going to be perfect at that. Is the lava chasing after me? That's a good question as well. I don't know if it is. Because normally in the final version, the lava sort of chases... Oh, yeah, it is. Here it comes. Ooh. Now, that spike did me damage even though it was inside of the wall, which is interesting. But yeah, I've just realised that there's no checkpoints. So in the final version, obviously, you hit the star posts or the checkpoints or whatever you want to call them, and they go ding, and you know you restart from that point. And I don't think I've seen one, unless I missed them in Green Hill, but I don't think they're in. So that's interesting. It's not a big deal in something like Green Hill because you can do Green Hill in like 30 seconds. It's very easy. But Marble Zone, you miss the checkpoints because like this is a long level. Like, It feels like 5 minutes ago when I last did this section. Oh, hello, Morgan. How are you? Yeah, I think they might have done. Yeah, I think they did. Because they wouldn't have removed things really, unless it was broken or it didn't work. So I seemed, it didn't strike me as unusual. So yeah, I think they would do. These enemies, I don't think they were. Either they weren't in this level or there weren't this many of them. They look like Scrap Brain Zone or Spring Yard enemies. That's weird. I might be wrong about that as well, but oh, don't jump there. Yeah, so there's the weird UFO things again. I can see why they cut a lot of the stuff that they did, because like those UFO things in the sky, like I don't know what that is. Yuji Naka must have been taking some strong medication that day. So I understand why they cut a lot of the things that they cut out. But it's interesting still to sort of see how games have changed or developed through their development process. Like I did a video on Half-Life 2 prototype version as well, which you can go back and watch after this if you're still looking for things to watch. Similar kind of thing, you know, where it's just interesting to see the changes and how the game sort of evolved during the development process. Right, I'm gonna not do that this time. Oh my goodness. Look how that spike trap is not right. That spike trap does not work like that in the final version. That is disgusting. Like you've gone from Green Hill Zone as well, which is like a super easy level. Like I say, anyone who can even slightly play this game, you can do Green Hill Zone Act 1 in about 35 seconds tops. This is grim, this level. It's really hard. It's full of these weird little timing puzzles and things that just crush you or impale you or set you on fire, and it's just the difficulty curve is a bit extreme, even in the final version, but especially in this prototype where things are kind of not quite right. Good news is that's just Act 2. We've got another one of these to go through yet. Stick with it though, because when we get to the next level, which in the final version is called Scrap Brain. No, in the final version it's called Spring Yard Zone. It's called something different in this prototype, but I won't spoil it. Some of the levels have indeed had their names changed between this and the final version, so. In fact, I think the next level after this one, Spring Yard Zone, is the one that's had the most differences. It's completely different in a lot of ways to the final version, so that's when things will get a bit more interesting. Now that's weird. Okay, it's another one of these jumping cylinders, which again are not in the final version of the game. So continuity question, Morgan. Oh, that's a question for Morgan. I suspect. I've been asking Morgan that question for a while. I don't think he knows the answer yet, to be honest. Maybe Sekiro? But then certain people don't seem to like Sekiro, so I don't know what else we would play. I don't oh, well, not me, but the charge spin, the spin dash is not in this game, so you can't actually do it. If you so normally to do a spin dash in Sonic games, which was introduced in Sonic CD or Sonic 2, one or the other. So basically you crouch and then you tap the A button to do like a supercharged spin, but you don't, that isn't in Sonic 1, so it is not a thing. Instead, the camera pans down quite extreme there. and it does it instantly. Whereas I think in Sonic 2 and onwards, like it will still pan down, but you have to hold it for a couple of seconds. So yeah, it just behaves differently. To be fair, if Sekiro doesn't have as much replayability as Dark Souls, that's not going to be a massive issue, because I don't think we finished it the first time around. So maybe for the first 10 episodes it might be a bit repetitive compared to what James did last time, but what about Sekiro? What about Sekiro, but with a lot of mods installed or something like that? Also, I don't sound like Johnny Vegas. That's offensive. Johnny Vegas sounds a bit more like, you know, his voice has gone, if you ask me. I'm just kind of rolling through this a little bit because there's no massive differences to point out here, to be honest, except for the fact that I'm about to die. Just want to kind of get on to the next zone, really, which is where some of the more interesting changes will be seen. That's really hard. I think there's something different about this section, to be honest, because these... Yeah, that is weird. I don't remember that. I don't know if Morgan is still here or not, but I'll mention it to James and Morgan whether they want to do Sekiro or not. And if we do Sekiro, maybe just to make it a bit different from James's playthrough of Sekiro, which again he didn't finish, but obviously he did. Wow, I died. Do you see those little Robotnik icons that appeared in the lava? They're kind of like debug items for the developers, and they kind of show you surfaces which are like death zones. They're used in, well, they're not used in monitors, although there is an unused Robotnik monitor item in the debug mode, which again, if you open that monitor, it'll just kill you instantly, but or it'll cause you to lose all your rings. Yeah, so it's just thought I'd point out, because that's kind of how you can tell this was like a development version, because those little cues for the developers were in there just for debugging purposes. I mean, if people are happy to do a stock Sekiro, I just thought it would be good to do. I just wanted to get people's thoughts on doing a modded version of Sekiro, or at least, you know, what about the Thomas the Tank Engine mod? Can we all be on board for that at least? So he replaces the snake with Thomas the Tank Engine. That's a relatively harmless mod. What you could do is just install it and then forget, you know. Or I could just try and find some way of getting it installed on James's PC without him realising. So when Thomas the Tank Engine turns up unexpectedly, we can get his reaction to it. That'd be funny. Yeah, this enemy placement is weird. Like putting two of those in this small area with those springs there. It's yeah, it's little things like that they've changed in the final version, because basically the difficulty spike is just a bit extreme. Also, those lava bits are timed weird. I might be wrong, I might just be misremembering. I mean, I never did get on with Marble Zone, but you know, like, you've played this game so many times that you've kind of got some kind of muscle memory for it. What I might do, to be honest, because I'm started to losing the will to live in Marble Zone, and you know, it's going to take me forever. I'm going to just do the level select and skip on to the next zone. Hopefully it's the same level select as the final version. We'll soon find out. Hey! It's almost like I knew what I was doing. Anyway, so this kind of gives away some of the little things I was going to reveal later. So this is the level select. It's not terribly different from the final version, but what you can see is some of the differences in the level names. So Green Hill Zone is the same, Labyrinth Zone is the same, Marble Zone is the same, Starlight Zone is the same. But then for whatever reason, Spring Yard, which is the next zone and the one we'll go on to in a second, is called Sparkling Zone in this version of the game. And then Scrap Brain Zone is called Clockwork Zone or Clockwork Zone. There's an interesting little thing about that as well. You'll notice as well some of these levels have got like a little X next to them, which means that that level is just broken or unfinished. So we'll check those out in a bit. So I'm just skipping on to Sparkling Zone, also known as Scrap Brain. No, Spring Yard. I keep confusing Scrap Brain and Spring Yard. But anyway, so this is Sparkling Zone. Anyone who's familiar with the Spring Yard Zone from Sonic 1 will instantly see that this is an absolute freaking neon crazy mess that's completely different from the final version. Again, I can kind of see why they changed it. This is, speaking of cyberpunk, this feels very cyberpunk, but anyway. Yeah, so the background is completely different. You'll notice as well when I bounce off that spring, I'm instantly flying off the edge of the screen. And the game's having a few issues keeping up with the scrolling there. So that's interesting. But yeah, this entire level is just very odd with this different layout, different background art. I mean, in terms of the level layout, it's not massively different. There are some differences, but yeah, like aesthetically, this level is completely different. So at some point during the development, they've kind of decided that this sparkling gimmick that they've gone for is wrong, because it is. I mean, it doesn't... it's kind of garish and I don't know, it doesn't fit right for me. Maybe I'm just used to how it is. I'm kind of stuck in here, by the way. I don't know how to get enough momentum up because that weird spike trap's in the way. Those spinning spikes are not in the final version, that's another thing. I think they might appear in Starlight Zone or something like that, but they're not there, as far as I remember, in Spring Yard. Anyway, yeah, the background is just weird. It just feels unfinished. It's just... it feels like it's been left over from a much earlier version of the game, where the art style is completely different. You've got these weird goodbye, go-go signs flashing in the background. It kind of reminds me of Casino Night from Sonic 2. In a weird kind of way. It almost feels like it was... like Spring Yard is kind of like the background's a very industrial kind of purpley thing. It's not bright flashing colours and neon signs or any of this stuff. But it's interesting that the foreground art is clearly not exactly the same as the final, because the colours are slightly different there on these posts and stuff, but the foreground art is more or less the same as it is in the final version. So I wonder whether they were potentially in the process of changing the artwork, and they'd done the foreground and not the background, and maybe that this level was even more different in the past at some earlier point in development. I don't know, but there feels like a mismatch to me between the foreground and the background art. And also, our young hero, just keep that to yourself, is a secret. We definitely only streaming in the place you're watching this. Definitely not streaming it anywhere else. Okay. Shh. Anyway. The music for this level is basically the same as the final version as well. The only difference again is the drum samples. The drum samples are different for every track in the game. I wonder if another reason why they changed the concept on this level is because it feels a little bit similar to Starlight Zone as well. Because you've got all these stars floating around. You know, it's kind of like a city skyline in the background. So it does feel a bit redundant when you compare it to Starlight Zone. So I wonder if that's another reason why they changed it. But I do feel like this is mid-prototype. That's the other interesting fact as well. Act 2 and Act 3 of Scrap Brain. Act 2 and Act 3 of Sparkling Zone, aka Spring Yard Zone, are not finished in this. We can check them out in the debug menu later, but they're kind of weird and unfinished. So you move straight on to Starlight Zone, Act 1. Starlight Zone, I don't think has any differences. This is possibly the most baked finished level so far in this prototype. There might be a few little things like that piece of artwork missing from the top of that ledge there, and some of the tiles and stuff look a bit different. But yeah, I think Starlight Zone, I think the colour palette might be slightly different as well. I'm not 100% sure. Just eyeballing it, it looks slightly different. But yeah, Starlight Zone is pretty far done. There's not too many differences here. Again though, if I think, I'm not 100% sure. Oh, that's fair. I think again only, I think only the first act of this level is finished. I think the other ones are broken. Hopefully I can get to the end and we can find out. Good question, let's find out. That looks like the same waiting animation. In terms of Sonic sprites, they look the same as the final version. I can't tell that they've made any changes to Sonic himself between this and the final. I don't know how long you normally have to wait to see if he lies down or not. Might be a minute, not sure. If he hasn't laid down in the next minute, then I might just assume that he's not going to lie down. Well, this is riveting entertainment. Yeah, so I don't think he's going to lie down, but yeah, he's still got his waiting animation, so he still taps his foot. So that's pretty cool. Whoops. I feel like the platform wasn't resetting there for whatever reason. Do you know what? The beginning level layout is different. That is not the way this level is laid out in the final version. I'm pretty sure of that. Not exactly, anyway. There are definitely differences. Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint. Like you can it looks kind of the same, but it kind of doesn't. And the only way I think I can tell that it's different in some places is because my muscle memory isn't working. Like, if I play the regular version of Sonic 1, I can do that blindfolded. Like, I genuinely can just play that game without even trying. Like, my muscle memory is so good. Whereas I'm kind of feeling like there are subtle differences which are just sort of tripping up my muscle memory a little bit. That's not in the final. That's grim. So you're gonna trap me in by lowering those stairs down, and then I'm basically forced to commit. I'm forced to commit suicide because you've put a fan on the edge of the freaking whatever. You can see why some of these changes have been made. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of dark. You know, just forcing him to commit suicide. Like, okay. Yeah, this is different. Like, that's different. Definitely different. Subtly different. Like, it's not... You can see where it's kind of evolved into the final version. So like that Wow, what the actual frickety-doo-dah happened there? That's interesting. So apparently I flew off the top of the screen. Did it just level wrap and kill me? That does not feel finished. I kind of bigged Starlight Zone up as feeling a little bit like it was the final version, but you know, I don't think it is. I think we'll just resort back to the old level select menu to move on. Oh, that's not the level select menu. Try harder. There's a bag of chips in it for you. Right, so up, down, left, right. There we go. I'm just going to see if... Oh, they actually, yeah, Starlight Zone have X's against them. Starlight 1 has an X. So if it's got an X on it, I think that the developers are basically saying this level cannot be finished at this time because it's not finished. Let's check out Act 2, just see if there's anything interesting going on there. This is very different in terms of level layout. There's no rings, there's no items, there's no enemies. That wall isn't breakable. I've never played a 2D Sonic game without any level items or rings or enemies or anything in it. It's kind of eerie. It's kind of weird. It doesn't feel right. So yeah, I mean, actually I'm kind of wrong. Starlight Zone is not finished at all. Okay, that's weird. What the hell was that? Some weird glitchy tile or item there. I'm not really sure what it was. It seemed to just drop when I stood on it. I don't know if that was a platform or some kind of removed... Oh, I did break through that wall that time. Interesting. I guess I didn't have enough momentum the first time. Okay, that's some very odd placement there. But yeah, this level layout does not feel familiar to me at all. This level layout has been completely scrapped from the final version. Some of it feels kind of familiar because obviously they use the same tile layouts and stuff. So like, interesting. Fell through the geometry there. Yeah, so like most Sonic levels are designed kind of like in I think it's 6x6 or 12x12 grids. So you kind of get repetitive. No, I don't want to say repetitive. That's unfair, but you kind of get the same. So like a loop-de-loop or one of these ramps upwards or whatever. They're kind of like a fixed item that you can place in the level. So Sonic levels are kind of built on a grid like that. So you will kind of feel like a level might be familiar even if it isn't. But yeah, that's definitely weird and unfinished. Let us return to the level select. Let's just check Act 3 very quickly. What the hell? So yeah, the camera level wrapping business is not finished yet. So they still had some work to do on the old camera there. I don't think there's very much of Act 3. I don't think they've done anything in Act 3 except for put this big drop in. And that's kind of it, really. Or maybe not. Yeah. Okay, coolio. Let's move on again. So that's Starlight Zone. Some interesting stuff there. Whoops. Sparkling Zone. We'll just check out if Act 2 and 3 of Sparkling Zone are any different, because obviously we didn't, in normal gameplay, it doesn't take you to Act 2 or 3 of Sparkling Zone, so I kind of feel like this is somewhat familiar, but also not quite finished. Like this level geometry looks very strange. I don't remember it being that sort of jagged and weird and very steep in the final. Oh, that's a fun one. I think the cat's getting fed in the background. I apologise for all the clanking, if you can hear that. It's just occurred to me again, this level is empty. There's not a lot going on. There's a Net Your Rose game from the 90s that's just been recently released called Magic Castle. Interesting stuff. I remember Net Your Rose. That was like the homebrew development version of the Sony PlayStation, wasn't it? It's like the black version of the PS1, where you could develop your own games and stuff. And I remember getting like demo discs where people like they would publish some of the Net Your Rose games that people made, and I remember playing one, and I've always wanted to try and figure out what it was. It was kind of like a 3D open world. It's like a bit of like a platformer. Kind of had some RPG bits in it. It was very good though, and I could never remember the name of it, and I've never been able to find it. But yeah, I'll check that out. I should do more PS1 stuff actually. I quite like PS1 era as well. Anyway, moving right along to Clockwork Zone, which is called Clockwork Zone on the old title card there because there's no W in the font. So you know. One thing to say about Clockwork Zone is the background is completely different and unfinished. So normally in, well, it's called Scrap Brain Zone in the final, but in normally in Clockwork, Clockwork Act 1, the background is like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's fun. I'm just level wrapping into infinity there. How fast can Sonic really go? That's the question, boys and girls. About that fast, apparently. Yeah, so normally there's like... I think I've broken things. I think I've done a bad thing. Oh boy. Yeah, so normally in Scrap Brain Zone Act 1, the background is like... there's like these big towers shooting fire, and it's kind of... It's outdoors, I think, and... it's like a dark background. It's completely different anyway. This just looks like the foreground tiles, which are just kind of repeated in the background, so that's weird. Conveyor belt's broken. Level wrapping is broken. There's no items, no enemies. That's broken. Level layout is completely different. The level just is not finished there. So yeah, Clockwork Act 1 is very not finished. There's some interesting... Okay. So in Sonic games, you've kind of got a choice between... like, well, the level designers had a choice. You can either have a level which is purely horizontal from left to right. And if you hit the bottom of the level boundary, you die. But the other thing that you could do is... The second choice was to have like a vertically wrapping level. And examples of where you see this is like Labyrinth Zone in the final game, where you can basically fall infinitely down the waterfalls until you go back to the beginning, and you kind of have to break out of the infinite loop. And quite a few levels did the sort of infinite wrapping thing. And this seems to be an example of a level that's using like infinite wrap rather than having defined boundaries. Which is interesting because Scrap Brain Zone is not an infinitely wrapping level in the final, if I recall. So I don't know if they were just testing things out there or whatever it might be. Hello to the Amberkins. Welcome, welcome. Welcome back, Morgan. Everyone wants to know what we're playing after Dark Souls 3, I think. So I was talking about Sekiro with the Thomas the Tank Engine mod. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I'm just going to go back to the title screen because I seem to have glitched. Or I've put myself into a situation I can't get out of. Yeah, so I'll check out the other acts of Clockwork. You know what? I like the name Clockwork. I think we should just call it Clockwork Zone from now on. But I'll give this one more go, but I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it. It doesn't feel like they've finished this level layout at all. In fact, when you think about it, I don't know what the process was for making these levels, but I almost feel like the level designer was just placing tiles down at complete freaking random, because there's no logic to that level layout. Anyway, yeah, that was a dead end. I don't think you can complete Clockwork Stage 1. Let's have a quick look at Clockwork Zone Act 2. Okay, well that's colourful. Interesting. There's a wall there, but it's not the full height of the... So you can break out of the back of the tube. Okay. Yeah. That background is fun. The tubes are broken, they don't work. So that's the end of Clockwork Zone Act 2, which clearly doesn't work. Don't know if we can break out the level or try and fudge our way through. I'm going to try and turn debug mode on in a while, which will let us fly around the levels and hopefully let us explore them a little better and see if there's anything else. But yeah, that's broken. Let's have a quick check of 3. Oh, I think 3 breaks the game, if I recall. We'll soon find out. Yep. 3 doesn't work. You know what I missed? Labyrinth Zone, because it was hidden way up here in the second slot for whatever reason. So Labyrinth Zone, I know, has quite a few differences. So the first obvious one is the fact that I just instantly broken the game. But the background is completely different from the final version. Like the background in Labyrinth Zone is normally, I think, like a kind of teal green kind of color, and it's kind of got these waterfalls or different things going on, whereas this is kind of like a rock cavern with I don't know what these are. Are these kind of like sunlights? Is that like the sun just shining through the cave or something like that? I don't know. This is another example of a level wrap, by the way. So when I'm jumping there, it's kind of wrapping me to the bottom of the level, and then taking me back down again because gravity. And in fact, I think I'm landing back at the top of the level before the camera can even scroll down to my location at the bottom. Now, Labyrinth Zone is a wrapping level in the final version. Yeah, the foreground art is the same as the final, but the background art has changed completely. And a bit like with Spring Yard Zone, aka Sparkling Zone, the background art just feels very off-piste with like the foreground tiles. So I'm kind of thinking again like this was in the process of being changed and they've done the foreground and not the background. One thing that isn't in the final as well is these pink and blue crystal objects here. I don't remember those. One interesting fact about Labyrinth Zone in this prototype version is, again, there's no objects whatsoever, so there's no rings, no enemies, no items, but also there's no water, which is interesting for a water level. And also this brick wall business, I think you see that underwater in the final version, but you never see it above water, so that's what it would look like. It's quite a nice piece of artwork, to be honest. You see these checkerboard effects that you've got in the bricks, which kind of give the Mega Drive more colors than it actually has. Interesting fact is, because I'm playing this on an emulator, you can see the checkerboard pattern, but when you played it back on a CRT TV back in the 90s, because of the way CRTVs work, they kind of dithered the image. So you actually didn't see the checkerboard pattern, and you actually saw more colors than you're seeing, so it would have been a smoother gradient. So that was like a clever development trick that developers used to use back in the Sega Genesis days to kind of give yourself more colors than you actually had, because I think you had like maybe 16 colors that you could use on screen at any one time, and from a palette of 32 or 64. I forget the exact numbers. But by doing these little tricks like dither patterns and stuff, you could actually get convincing. You could actually have it. Well, you could have more colors and it would look correct basically on CRT TVs because of emulators and the fact that we all use LCD TVs now and stuff. It doesn't quite work anymore. But yeah, there you go. Another development fact for you there, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this level layout is broken, completely unfinished. Kind of boring because, again, like Labyrinth Zone, like I was saying before about how Sonic 1 kind of switched between a fast level and a slow level and then back to a fast level again. Labyrinth Zone was one of the slow levels, but obviously without any water to slow you down, completely changes the feel of it. I can't actually get past that location. That, again, seems to be another dead end. Just check out Act 2 very quickly. So that's interesting. So the background artwork is the same as before, but it seems to be misaligned. So you can see the bottom of the artwork is... Okay, what is that? That is not in the final, whatever that big boy there is. It looks like one of those heads that shoot fire pellets in the final version, but it looks bigger and it's got like a big horn on it. That's interesting. It doesn't seem to be doing anything, but it is a solid object. Just trying to keep it in frame. Can I look up? There you go. Yeah, that's I've never seen that before. Like some of this stuff I knew about from years past because like they had screenshots in magazines and stuff, like showing off prototypes. But that's new. I've never seen that before. That's pretty cool. Yeah, again, there's no water, there's no level objects, there's nothing. The level layout again feels completely different. Like there's bits that that I recognize which may have made it into the final version, but I'm pretty sure all or most of this section would be underwater, for example. And again, I don't think there's any way out of this section. The level just isn't finished. Yeah. All right. Let's have a look at Act 3 very quickly. Nope, that was the wrong one. I don't want marble. I'm done with marble for one day. Thank you very much. Let's have a look at Labyrinth Act 3. Oh, the background's just gone completely now. It kind of reminds me of the Game Gear Master System version we played the other month with the plain background. There's your level wrap. That's a very strange level wrap going on there. So I think this is the this is like the Genesis, if you pardon the pun, of the. So when I was saying about the final version of Labyrinth, where you have the waterfall, and you just kind of fall infinitely until you jump out into one of the side sections, this feels like an early version of that. And in fact, yeah, I think that's what that is. Just very broken and unfinished. But you see the concept. That's not jumpable. Again, there's no water, so this section should be entirely underwater, and it isn't. Which just kind of makes it very weird. And I think that's your lot for Act 3. So yeah, very interesting. So what I'll do is I'm going to just have a quick look at the special stage. One thing as well is the final zone, the final boss of the game has not been programmed in at all. It's just completely absent. But we'll have a look at the special stage. Now, conceptually, this is very similar to the final version. There are differences, however. You can't jump for whatever reason. The up and down buttons, there's like some tiles there that say up and down, and they change the direction of the maze, or they make the maze go faster and change the direction of the maze. Or am I? What these can? Okay. C is jump. So A and B are making the maze spin faster for whatever reason. Oh my god, what have I done? Can I slow that down? Slow, slow, slow. Oh, this is making me dizzy. Yeah, so the special stage isn't finished. I need to clear out of that before I throw up. That is weird. Okay, so C to jump. The goal, those goal icons, those goal tiles are not doing anything, which is weird. I think in the final, that's kind of where you fail the level if you hit those. Normally, the point of these levels was to find the Chaos Emerald. I don't know if they're actually in here or not. We'll soon find out. This level layout is not the same. Again, feels like a very early... Oh, what's that? Is that the Chaos Emerald? No, that's just a tile. Just floating on its own. That's weird. Is that where the emerald go? Yeah, I don't know what I think A is slowing the maze down, so that's basically not spinning at all, or barely. And then B kind of makes it rotate faster, so that is now rotating a lot quicker than it should be. And I wonder if that was, again, possibly for debug reasons, testing reasons. I imagine the developers were probably just playing with the mechanics of it. But yeah, that's very unplayable. I don't know if there's a way of selecting different special stages. I don't think there is. Anyway, let's get the old debug mode going. I'm going to find out how to do that right now. I think I can never remember the combination. Debug mode cheat for Sonic 1. Basically, you put in a certain combination of numbers into the sound test, but I can't remember exactly what that is, so I'm just going to Google it because I'm prepared for this live stream. Debug mode. Okay, I think it might be on already, so I might just have to... Let's just jump into Green Hill very quickly. So it is an interesting thing as well. Like normally in a Sonic game, when you press the pause button, it just pauses the game and everything stops, including the music. Because this is a prototype version, when you press the pause button, the music carries on playing, but also you can continue the game frame by frame in slow motion by pressing the C button. So you see how it just skips on by 1 frame whenever I press C. So you can then hold that down for kind of like a slow motion effect with the B button. And then the A button sends you back to the title screen. So those functions are not in the final game as far as I recall. Now, debug mode. I don't seem to have a debug mode by default. Let's see if I can figure out how to get the old debug mode on. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. Chat's gone very quiet, by the way. I hope I haven't bored everybody to death. I'm going to wrap this up after we've done debug mode because I don't want to go on for too long with this. Press B. B and A. Differences, debug mode. I won't be a second. Yeah, the music is going a little bit strange there. Ah, I see. So I need to hold the A button while selecting it from the level select. So if I hold that, okay, let's try that. So let's do Labyrinth 1 again, holding down the A button. There you go. So what you'll see in debug mode, which you don't normally see in normal gameplay, is the score has been replaced with like the coordinates. So those are my hexadecimal, that's the hexadecimal for my actual position within the level. And then when you press the pause button, A apparently still resets you. So well done. Let's try that again. Interesting. I don't know what happened there. I feel like I got 2 title cards and then spawned in midair. What the? Anyway. So if I press the pause button and then press B or Y. Oh, there we go. Press B in midair and then I can become an object. You can then place objects in the level within debug mode. And you can then cycle through the different objects that are available. So you can place enemies, traps, springs, anything that's like a foreground tile. You can't place level tiles and you can't place background tiles, but anything that's a foreground tile you can place in debug mode. So I can place a rock there, place a spring, I think with a Y button, there we go. So you can do fun stuff like this. Yeah, so again, developer tool, quite fun to play with. This is in the final game, you just have to unlock it through a cheat. But what it will allow us to do is just quickly, well, 2 things. Firstly, it'll let us just explore some of those levels where we couldn't get past a certain point, which we'll do now. But the other thing that debug mode will do is we can just check to see if there's any other content that maybe isn't obvious by checking through the different tiles and seeing if there's anything interesting there. So let's go back to Labyrinth 1. Oh, did that wrong. Try again. There we go. So interesting. Don't know what that is. That is a ring that is black for some reason. Insert your own jokes here. Let's just have a quick scroll through the different objects just to see if there's anything interesting. Don't know what that is. That looks like a broken enemy where its artwork has possibly been removed. Oh, that's the crab meat from Green Hill Zone. It's just obviously its artwork isn't loaded in for this level, so it's just glitched. That's it, I think. Okay, cool. So now we can use debug mode just to sort of scroll past the end of the level that we couldn't get past before. Just to see if there's anything else interesting going on, and then we'll check out some of the other levels using debug as well. I want to check out Clockwork Zone a bit more, just to see if there's anything interesting there. I don't think there was a lot more to explore there, to be honest, because I think we probably got trapped around here somewhere. Yeah, we got trapped into this cavern thing here. But if we did manage to make it up, you would just go around in a circle. And as far as the end of the level goes up here, there's no signpost, there's no actual finish to the stage. What happens if I go off? You can't go off the edge of the screen. I'm just trapped in this section actually, so this is clearly the end of the level, because normally when you get to the end of a level it'll stop you from going back. So clearly the signpost was supposed to be here somewhere. So there we go. Let's have a quick look at some of the other levels. Just have a look at Act 2 quickly. So this was our level wrapping gimmick, which wasn't quite finished. Again, I'm not entirely surprised by this fact, but there doesn't seem to be anything further beyond where we kind of got to anyway. Obviously that's why it was a dead end, because they just hadn't finished the level design. So things are just kind of glitching out a little bit weirdly there. So nothing too exciting there. Act 3. I can't remember if I think we didn't check there, but there's nothing there really. So normally you would come down here and then you would go off to the right, but we couldn't jump up here because it was too high to jump. So, but again, that's just a dead end on the other side of it. I'm sorry for all the clatter going on in the background. I have no idea what's going on there. Yeah, I'll check the special stage to see if there's a debug mode there as well. Yeah, so this is like the area we couldn't reach normally because the wall was just too high, but there doesn't seem to be anything here really. It's just dead end and after dead end really, which again isn't too surprising. It's kind of expected for an unfinished level. I'm gonna check out Sparkling Zone. I don't think we got to the end of Sparkling Zone. I might be wrong, so it didn't do debug. Try that again. I don't think we got to the end of Sparkling Zone. I think this is again a level that you just can't finish yet. It's just not quite finished. So I'm just going to skip through a lot of these sections. I don't know actually, did we finish this? I think we finished Act 1 and it took us into Starlight Zone, didn't it? Yeah, maybe we did do this. Yeah, it's got a signpost, which I've broken. Anyway. Act 2 and 3 obviously weren't finished, so let's have a quick look at those. Oh, I forgot to check the tiles as well actually. Let's just see if there's any interesting items in here. The only thing I can... Well, these are the wrong palettes, the wrong colour, so that's a different colour. That's blue in the final. And that one is pink in the final, so it looks like those two enemies have had their colour palette swapped for whatever reason. Oh, I think that's only when I'm debugging. When I place them, they look okay. Weird. Strange. Anyway. Now it just looks like I'm playing as Debug the Hedgehog. Yeah, like at a certain point in this level, it looks like we're back to like it's just unfinished. There's no items, no rings, no enemy placements. Everything just starts to get a little bit glitchy and unfinished. This looks interesting. That particular tile looks weird. I don't think I've seen that before. When I say a tile, I mean like a piece of level art or level geometry. Just looks a bit different from anything I've seen before there. And I don't think there is any signpost, so that makes sense. Act 3 quickly. If you want to behave, what's up with you? Come on, there we go. Okay. This kind of looks familiar to the final version, but again, there's just no enemies, no objects placed. Some of these you can get a better look at the background artwork as well, which is completely different. And it looks like there's some Mandarin writing going on in the background. Sorry if that's the wrong term for that. I think Mandarin is the spoken language, isn't it? But anyway, there's some Japanese writing going on in the background, which is interesting. Although it just kind of looks like the same artwork, just kind of repeating over and over. I don't know if they say different things. Hello, welcome. Yeah, again, nothing really interesting to see there, to be honest. It's just an empty, unfinished level. Let's have a quick look at Clockwork Zone again with debug mode. And then I'll check out the special stage with debug mode. And then I'll probably call it a day unless anyone's got anything else they want to see or anything they want me to check out. Or I can, go through the sound test quickly if people want to hear the music and stuff. Just let me know in the chat if you want to see anything in particular that I've missed or forgotten about or just haven't checked. So I think this was the dead end that we reached last time. Okay, so there's a little bit of this indoor section artwork, which I didn't see last time, but I feel like that's just the end of the level. Yep, like they've just basically that's where they're up to. Nothing going on after that. Play Freebird. I don't know what Freebird is. Is that a different game altogether? Hello, Zach. I was waiting for you to come and crash this live stream at some point. So yeah, Act 2 was finished because this tube didn't work. So let's have a look if there's anything going on up here. The tube just ends at the top of the screen, so does that level wrap down? I think it does, So I think that tube would level wrap down here somewhere, potentially, and that would then lead you to this section of level. These cogs you would normally stick to. Oh, you do stick to them. Interesting. Also, the bottom of the screen is solid. I'm not dying. That's weird. Yeah, so these cogs feel half finished. Like they kind of have their local gravity, but they're not spinning, and you're not curling up into a ball. So that's interesting. So normally you would swing your way up those up to here. That's an impossible jump because of the ceiling. So that's clearly not right. Some of this level layout is feeling kind of familiar. And then we're back at this tube again, which is broken. So, oh, that tile is misaligned. So, but you can see what I mean by tiles now. So you see how everything is kind of like, so that section, which is higher than it should be, is what you would call one, I think that is one tile section. So that is one piece of level geometry that you can place into a level. So as a level designer, that would be one section you have to play with. And you can then use these different tiles to kind of build your level up. That's kind of how level design works in Sonic games. It's a bit more technical than that, and I'm kind of simplifying it, but that's basically how that works. So hopefully that demonstrates what I mean when I say what I mean by tile when I say tile. I mean like a section of level geometry, basically. I think this is just the same. Yeah, that's just going in. Is that going in? And that's kind of back where we started, I think. Very odd. That isn't back where we started. That's just another room. Another road to nowhere. I feel like that would loop here. They just hadn't put the tube in yet. Again, the physics of the conveyor belt work, I feel. Although maybe not, because they're not slowing me down. But they're not animated or anything like that. So that's definitely just the end of the level. I feel like that would loop around again. Yep, that would lead down there. Okay, so there is a lot more of this level than first meets the eye, but you just need debug mode to be able to get to it, basically, because it's that unfinished that you just can't get to any of these sections in normal gameplay. And that would be the end of your level. Nope, still some more. I don't know what you mean by trail inbound. Sorry, Zach. Clarification, please. How fast can Sonic go? Part 2. That fast, apparently. Anyway. I think somebody asked for... oh, it's a song. I see what you're saying. Right, okay. Sorry. Oh, Act 3. Let's just have a quick look at Act 3. Debug mode on. Oh no, Act 3 doesn't exist. Let's have a look and see if debug mode works in the special stage. I don't think it does, because it's got its own unique debug mode controls. Yeah, I'll try it again just to be sure. Yep. There's no debug mode in the special stages, but that's because it's got its own special set of debug tools. The special stages are treated differently from the main stages. They use a different type of level layout and system. They're not created in the same way, so that kind of makes sense. Interesting. So the goal kind of makes the level spin, and then you just go back to the beginning apparently. So there you go. Yeah, so that's Sonic the Hedgehog 1 prototype. I'll just run through the sound test quickly while I just give everyone one final chance to make any requests they may have. But if nobody else has any requests of things they want to see, then I'm just gonna wrap it there, I think. Yeah, the music isn't massively different. Again, it's just the instruments are slightly different samples. The drum samples are different, mainly. But they're not massively different. There are quite a few sound effects in here that are different, if I recall. Well, that didn't work. Yeah, so that sound effect is different. I don't know what that sound effect would be. Special stage? Failing a special stage? I don't know what that sound effect is. What the heck is that? Yeah, so that's not in the final. I don't know what that sound effect is for. It's Pac-Man all of a sudden. That sounds like a Pac-Man sound effect to me. That's weird. I don't know what that is. So yeah, there's some sound effects in here that have been cut as well, which again, I wonder if that's from earlier stuff that's just not been taken out of the game yet. Hello, Professor Thew. You're just in time for the end of the live stream. Yeah, so a lot of the sound effects are the same, but there's some different ones in there that I've never heard before. What the heck is that one? It sounds like one of those large, what do you call them? You know, the things where you like a massive cymbal that you hit or something. I don't know. Weird. Back to the beginning. So yeah, so that's everything there is to see, really. Well, there's probably more. And the other interesting thing about these prototypes is that, like, the community, the Sonic hacking community, as they call themselves, they do deep dives into the code and they reverse engineer it all and stuff. So they'll probably start finding hidden bits and bobs in this. So more stuff will come out over the coming months and stuff. So that, like, these prototypes are quite interesting. Sonic Retro is a good website to check out if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Again, Hidden Palace is where this is available from. If you head to Hidden Palace on Google, you can find this and download it for yourself and give it a play in any Genesis emulator of your choice. Yeah, so just interesting to see the changes and the differences and just how the game's evolved through its development. It's not quite as different from the final as the Sonic 2 prototype, which again is a very old prototype that was found years and years and years ago. But people are asking to see it, so you know, maybe I'll do Sonic 2 prototypes at some point in the coming weeks or months. if people definitely want to see that, that's not a problem. There's actually quite a number of Sonic 2 prototypes. There's probably 3 or 4, all at various different stages of development. And when you look at them, you can kind of see it sort of organically changing as time goes on and stuff. It's quite interesting. But again, if you want to read up on this stuff, find out more about it, check out Sonic Retro. It's like a wiki for this kind of stuff. And you can just lose yourself for hours reading about all the prototypes and cut content and stuff like that. Anyway, that's me for this evening. Thanks very much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow with some more Dark Souls and all that good stuff. And I'll catch you all later. Goodbye.